Hello everybody, what's going on? My name is Darth Cinema. Welcome back to my review of RWBY Volume 5. We are going in with Chapter 5, Necessary Sacrifice, guys. So please, if you are excited to hear my thoughts and opinions on this newest episode of RWBY, please leave a like, comment, subscribe for weekly content. Right before we get into this episode, guys, quick little PSA here. I'm going to be going in for surgery this next Tuesday, so just letting you know, if I sound weird the next week, I'm gonna still get the video out on Saturday while I'm recovering, so you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, other than that, we'll jump right into the video. So we open up in Menagerie, and this is actually one of the points that I want to get through in this episode. I do not believe are any fights in this episode. This is actually one of the better episodes of the season, not just because it doesn't have any fights, because we finally get some, character development, and we actually have further progression of the story, and it shows that, RWBY is not all just fights. That was probably a criticism I think a lot of my friends had for not wanting to see RWBY, because they put style over substance, just having good fights, and then nothing else. So our episode opens up with Blake and Sun going through Menagerie, trying to get signatures of people who wish to sign up and defend Haven. And there are a bit of comedic moments with Sun trying to get this, I would say, a goat faunus to come, but his mother ends up dragging him inside, which is actually quite humorous. They both realized quickly that while the people of Menagerie may have been stirred by Gira's speech that he gave in the previous episode, none of them really want to put their lives on the line for Haven Academy. And as Blake explains later, it's because a lot of people who came to Menagerie wanted to make a fresh start, and that they want to stop fighting, and they don't want to throw themselves into another conflict. Also, shout out that we got to see some fish faunus. That was actually pretty neat. So that was actually probably one of the better, little things in the episode that I genuinely enjoyed. We get to see a little conversation between Sun and Blake, where we get to see how she views a lot of people, and she boils them down that they're the epitome of a single word. RWBY, I believe, was purity, Yang was strength, Weiss was defiance, and actually one of a funnier moments with Sun was, what was he? And she says, jury's still out on that one. I would say earnest, and that's actually quite funny. But we get to learn what she thinks of Adam when the situation's brought up. And at first I thought it was going to be something cliche like anger, fury, vengeance. No, the word she used was spite. And I love that they didn't do the cliche thing. They actually made it something I didn't expect. But it totally fits with what Adam is trying to do, especially after killing Sienna a few episodes back. Then we get to one of my favorite parts of the entire episode, the Rose Garden. Oscar training. Yeah, guys, I've seen the artwork for Rose Garden, I've heard the ship, and you know what? It's adorable. I like this ship, even if it goes nowhere. I don't care if it goes anywhere. It's a happy little ship. It's a crack ship, probably. That's never going to happen, but one can dream. The one thing I think a lot of people need to realize about me is I'm not as hung up about ships as a lot of people in the RWBY community are, but I will say Rose Garden is probably up there with being one of my favorites. But where am I getting this from? We start this next scene, with Oscar training alone. We actually have RWBY coming down to tell him that dinner was ready, and the two of them actually get into an actual deep conversation. It starts off with just him training, and RWBY is just kind of being encouraging, as she always is. But as this conversation progresses, we finally get that moment that we only saw her reveal at the end of Volume 4. where RWBY is always putting out this very confident, this confident face, this facade of like that she knows what to do. She's always in control, at least um, in terms of her emotions. But the moment when she says you'll be combat ready in no time, and she realizes what she says, and she thinks of Penny, is just you see that wall crumbling down, and that fear, that doubt is all starting to go through. And it's amazing that she's letting all this out to who she would consider a complete stranger, because she's talking to Oscar. She's not talking to Ozpin. And I like that Ozpin stayed out of this a lot of the time. He didn't say much and kind of let Oscar give his own, let out his own frustrations at this, where Oscar's like, I knew I was destined for something more, but who would ask for something like this? And RWBY said, none of us did. None of us asked for it. We went to Beacon so we could help people. And this is where we are. This is where our paths led to. And Oscar kind of lashes out and says, how can you be so confident about all of this? And then RWBY, when he asks her why is she doing this, RWBY, it tells Oscar about the deaths of Jean and Penny, and we really get to see her open up about it, and actually she does shed a few tears over it. This is fantastic, because now RWBY is finally opening up to someone, and as far as we're aware, Oscar's the first person she's opened up to about this. Not Nora, not Jean, not Ren, and not even her uncle. This is the person she opens up to, and that shows how much, I think, even at face value, she trusts Oscar. And it's amazing. Even it amazes me and amazes Oscar, because he says, Ozpin says to him that she's really remarkable, and Oscar actually humorously says, asks if she was the best huntswoman at Beacon, and she's in some ways yes, in others not so much. But she never fails to inspire people. She's a spark that inspires others, which is very true. And we've seen that throughout the series, even from the very beginning, that RWBY has this ability to rally people around her, and that she's someone that people can get behind and trust to lead them in the right direction. I absolutely love this scene. It shows quiet moments like this can definitely be well done, especially for a show that's so well known for its fights. And also, this episode actually definitely made me a Rose Garden shipper. So whether or not that happens, I don't care. I just love the interactions between these two characters, and I want to see more scenes with these two, because it's very clear that the actor who plays Oscar and Lindsay Jones both bounce off each other super well in this, especially with these more quiet moments. And I really, really like this. And I think seeing RWBY out of her shouty, funny element and more into something where she has to, let out more of her real emotions inside, I feel is where we get a lot more depth with this character. Then we get to probably the most diabolical thing in this entire episode, guys. We meet with those two, I'm going to call them the priests. I forget their names. Honestly, they've been in the series so little. I'm just going to call them the White Fang priests. They just received a message from Adam Taurus, and they call Illia there. It's very clear what the mission they're assigning her is, as they're filling in the information that now the transition of power between Sienna to Adam is now coming through, and they realize that they have to do something, because if Menagerie hears that Adam is now the supreme leader of the White Fang, obviously they're expecting revolt. So the orders for Illia are to kill Gira and Kali, Blake's parents, but not Blake, as Adam wants her taken alive. And we hear this twice, But I usually I'm against hearing the same exposition or like the same like bits of dialogue twice, but in this case, hearing it from Adam, you get to see a little bit more just how unhinged he is. I think something's up with him. I'm not sure, but and even one of the White Fang priests point this out. The one with the ears actually pointing out of the hood. He points out that Adam is unwell, but the other one writes it off as saying that he has a great burden placed upon him. So naturally, he would act different than he would before. Props though to what they're doing with Illia, because Illia I thought would be, kind of like the traditional, oh yeah, friend ends up joining the bad guys, but it's very clear that when her mission is given, she's horrified by what they're asking her to do. And it makes it very clear that, like, it's at that moment where Ilya is realizing how far she has slipped down this slippery slope by allying with Adam and the White Fang, that she will condone the murder of Sienna Khan, but it comes to murdering her best friend's parents. Then we end up playing the message from Adam, and it's just absolutely, actually pretty creepy and disturbing just to hear his voice and hear him saying how he has a promise to keep with Blake, or the deserter. So I actually am really looking forward to seeing how this all pays off. Naturally, I think these events in Menagerie are going to accelerate. That will prompt Blake and Sun to perhaps head to Haven. But the episode ends with a bat faunus coming to the priest saying that the messenger Gira sent is resting beneath the waves. So he murdered the messenger along with the message that he was meant to bring, no doubt, to Haven Academy. So this was a very, shit's about to hit the fan episode. So I have no idea where this is going to go, honestly. I think I mentioned when we met Kali and Gira that I felt that they were going to die. However, do you really think they're going to pull the trigger on this now? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Obviously, there's a lot to go through in this episode. If you'd like to see me make a video on just top things I want to see this season for RWBY Volume 5, let me know in the comments. But anyway, I hope you have a fantastic night. Enjoy the video, enjoy RWBY, and I will see you all next week, where I will be hopefully great from surgery, and we can talk about what new ways Rooster Teeth has come out of ripping out our hearts. Have a good night, guys.